For centuries, experts and researchers have been left baffled by certain events that they've been unable to explain. These mysteries include out-of-place artifacts, strange objects, the likes of which we've never seen before, and unexplained disappearances that seemingly have no explanation and that might never be solved. Number 10. On the 2nd of March 2025, a farmer called Don Jose was left shocked when he witnessed a strange object crash through power lines on his farm in Buga, Colombia. And when he ran to the site of the crash to investigate, he had no idea what he was looking at. At first, he expected to find a piece of a drone that had crashed or some other type of debris, but instead, he came across a perfectly round metal sphere, about the size of a soccer ball, lying on the ground. Upon closer inspection, he noticed that it had strange, intricate carvings on the exterior, and he didn't know what to make of the object. He decided to weigh the sphere and found that it weighed about 4.5 pounds, but to his surprise, it got heavier as time went by, and within a matter of weeks, it had reached 22 pounds. Further piquing his interest was the fact that it seemed to be emitting a low-frequency signal, which has since been measured at 2.3 hertz. He also noticed that the ground at the crash site where the sphere lay was completely parched, and that each time he handled it, he started feeling ill. He believed that it might be emitting some type of radiation, and fearing that it might be dangerous to his health, he decided to contact the authorities so that it could be handed over to researchers. As soon as news of the discovery broke, the internet started speculating as to what the sphere could be. It was taken to the National Polytechnic Institute in Mexico for further study, and researchers there were left just as shocked as the farmer when they started performing experiments on it. Strangely, the sphere would start to vibrate and almost sing when certain frequencies were played, and it was noted that it gave the same response when subjected to Sanskrit mantras. Tests showed that it was made up of about 95% aluminum, and that it also contains some metals that scientists have been unable to identify. Furthermore, the perfectly round sphere shows no welding marks, joints, or manufacturing marks, even when viewed during X-ray imaging. Inside, it seems to contain networks that have been likened to fiber optics, along with several layers of unknown materials. Several researchers have attested to the fact that it's become heavier or lighter at times, and it's been suggested that this happens due to environmental factors or its internal structure. But these remain only theories, as no definitive answer for the weight shift has been found. At times, its temperature would increase or drop by as much as 5 degrees Celsius or 41 degrees Fahrenheit, another factor that is yet to be explained, and it seems to store energy after being made to resonate. The sphere has garnered so much attention that criminals dressed as police officers attempted to steal it on more than one occasion, and conspiracy theories have suggested that it's extraterrestrial in nature. And that theory only gained traction when an AI model suggested that the strange symbols are an ancient script that reads, "Beware the sky, signal received." It's also been suggested that the symbols are a galactic map of some kind. But before further research is conducted, all these theories remain speculation, as the true purpose of the Buga sphere remains unknown. Number 9. Most of us are aware of 3I Atlas, a fast-moving interstellar object that passed through our solar system during the latter part of 2025, and the suggestions by conspiracy theorists and some scientists alike that it might be an extraterrestrial craft. 3I Atlas was first detected by the Atlas telescope on the 1st of July 2025, and it was reported to the Minor Planet Center that same day. It got its moniker from the fact that it's the third known interstellar object to pass through our solar system, and because it was discovered by the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System survey telescope, which is situated in Rio Hurtado, Mexico. As soon as scientists started tracking its trajectory, they determined that it originated from outside our solar system, thanks to the incredible speed at which it was traveling, as well as its trajectory. It was announced that the object was almost certainly a comet, thanks to its color, speed, and the direction it was traveling in, along with the fact that scientists could see a bright cloud of gas around it. It was soon determined that the sun's gravity would have no effect on it, since it was traveling too fast, and so it was certain that it originated in some other solar system. It passed by the Sun at a distance of around 130 miles, and then passed by the Earth while 170 million miles away on the 19th of December. The discovery took the world by storm, and scientists hailed the fact that it was passing through our solar system as a once-in-a-lifetime event. But not everyone was convinced that 3I Atlas was a comet as reported. A Harvard scientist called Avi Loeb suggested that the object was actually a kind of probe that had been sent to our solar system to conduct reconnaissance on various planets, one of which was Jupiter. Loeb speculated if the object were to release probes to study a planet, it would likely pick Jupiter, since it's less fragile and massive compared to others such as Earth. Furthermore, he stated that the comet's anti-tail, which means that its tail was facing towards the Sun rather than away from it as per normal, was inexplicable, and he suggested that this was due to a jet shield that was deflecting solar particles away from the comet. He then made a connection between 3I Atlas and the famous WOW signal, a radio transmission that was received by scientists working on the SETI project on the 15th of August 1977. Loeb found that the object originated from an area within 9 degrees of the original WOW signal, and conspiracy theorists started suggesting that the initial signal identified Earth as a life-supporting planet, and that 3I Atlas was sent to investigate. Number 8. The pyramids of Giza have fascinated us since scientists first started excavating the structures in the 17th century. In 1837, hidden chambers and inscriptions were found in the Great Pyramid, and since then some truly remarkable discoveries have been made inside and near the pyramids. For example, in 1925, the burial site of Queen Hetepheres I was discovered close to the Great Pyramid, and in 1954, 2 massive boat pits were unearthed, also near the most famous of the structures. Over the centuries, there's been much debate as to what could be found inside and beneath the pyramids, with some researchers speculating that they could contain burial chambers, hidden tunnels and passages, or even treasures, the likes we've never seen before. But in March of 2025, Italian and Scottish researchers made a claim that took the archaeological world by storm, if proven to be true, and their theory stood to change almost everything we know about the pyramids and Egypt in general. Research was conducted by a team led by Corrado Malanga, who represents the University of Pisa in Italy, along with the University of Strathclyde professor Filippo Biondi. They used synthetic aperture radar technology to scan the ground beneath the pyramids, and what they found left them astonished. They reported that they had discovered what looks like an ancient underground city that stretches about 6,500 feet beneath the pyramids. This discovery was made with the use of satellite radar data combined with minuscule vibrations from seismic activity that was occurring in the area. They then used radar to render 3-dimensional images of the areas beneath the pyramids, and they were shocked to find that the underground structures seemed to encompass an area 10 times larger than the pyramids combined. In their report, the researchers stated they found 8 cylinder-shaped structures that lay vertical to the ground above. Thus, they believed them to be shafts that stretch about 2,000 feet beneath the Earth's surface. But they also contain some very interesting structures. The team believed that they identified spiral pathways around these shafts, and added that these pathways likely connected 2 large cube-shaped structures to each other. Above these structures, they identified several structures that contained multiple levels, and which were also connected to each other by structures akin to hallways. It's now been suggested that these passageways and shafts once gave the people of ancient Egypt access to the subterranean chambers, and some archaeologists have speculated that these chambers might be the mythical halls of Amenti. Soon, the discovery caught the attention of the scientific community, but several scientists have come forward to dispute the claims made by Malanga and Biondi. They feel that these claims are exaggerated, but they did not discount the possibility that some structures, such as shafts, were built in the area before the construction of the pyramids. Furthermore, they've pointed out that the technology used to scan the area is far more conducive to finding hollow structures, rather than the shafts that are said to reach thousands of feet below the surface. For now, the claims being made by this team are being treated with skepticism, and they'll be neither proven nor debunked until targeted excavation is performed. Number 7. On the 27th of August, 2025, the City Council of Tulsa, Oklahoma, was scheduled to hold a meeting with one of the more urgent items on the agenda being an ordinance on how residents should conduct themselves while walking on the city's sidewalks. When the meeting was over and done, it had been decided that if someone decided to stop on a sidewalk that they were walking on, they would need to stop at least 18 inches away from the curb's edge. Furthermore, anyone who finds themselves standing on a median will need to remain at least 18 inches away from either side of the road, and if they fail to do so, they could be hit with a fine. Not everyone was happy with these decisions, since they felt that it would negatively impact people who had no choice but to sleep on sidewalks. But Councilor Phil Lakin stood his ground, stating that these rules would apply to everyone and not just a specific group of residents. In all fairness, most of us would have found this meeting extremely boring, were it not for the fact that something very strange happened during the proceedings that has still not been explained. In video footage of the meeting that was uploaded to YouTube, the meeting suddenly comes to a halt when the attendees become aware of a strange sound. While one speaker was voicing her opinion against these new rules, a loud booming sound could be heard, and moments later the entire building started to vibrate. Several attendees could be heard gasping loudly in surprise, and the speaker immediately halted her speech while looking around. One man could be heard asking, "What was that?" before asking that someone walk outside and see what was happening. In the meantime, the speaker timidly finished her statement before walking away from the speaker's podium and taking her seat. The rest of the attendees could be seen patiently waiting for the report from outside, as some people believed the boom was caused by a small earthquake. But before the chosen person could return to report on what they saw outside, a second boom was heard, and again the building started to shake, prompting several people inside to cry out in fear. This was followed by imperceptible chatter from the attendees who were visibly shaken. It was reported nothing seemed out of place outside, and no cause for the strange event could be identified. It was later reported that no seismic activity had taken place in the area during the meeting, and no notable meteorological events had taken place. Strangely, residents living in other parts of the city didn't hear the boom at all, and were completely unaware of the vibrations that were felt at City Hall. It's been suggested that since the hall in question wasn't on the ground floor, the booms could have been the result of activity taking place in a loading dock beneath it, or from something that was happening in the building's parking garage, which is also situated beneath the hall. Some people suggested the explanation could be something as mundane as someone hitting one of the building's structures with a metal object, or that someone in the loading bay had dropped a heavy piece of machinery. But despite all this speculation, the true source of the booms was never found, and many people have suggested the mystery will never be solved. Number 6. Fire is an extremely destructive force that can engulf a house in a matter of seconds and render the building uninhabitable in mere minutes, even if the initial fire is thought to be harmless. In the US alone, between 330,000 and 360,000 house fires are reported every year, which means that one of these fires breaks out every 90 seconds. This results not only in around $10 billion in property damage every year, but also in many lives being lost. One man who hails from Zimbabwe considers himself extremely lucky to be alive, as he was subjected to a spate of inexplicable house fires in 2025, and to this day, no one has been able to find the cause. Methuseli Moyo is employed as a lecturer at the National University of Science and Technology in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, but he's also known in the country as a well-versed journalist. Hence, his bizarre tale is considered to be accurate, as unbelievable as it may sound. Methuseli's troubles started in February of 2025, when he became aware of a strange burning sensation on his skin, and at first he believed that a rash was forming on his body. But within moments, the burning worsened, and he started to cry for help. He reported that he felt as if his skin was on fire, but neither he nor his family could see any flames. He yelled for them to get some water, which they did, and it was poured over him, bringing some much-needed relief. At first, he believed this was an isolated, unexplainable event, but in the days and weeks that followed, he was proven wrong. A second incident occurred shortly after the first, when a series of small fires started breaking out around the family's home. Luckily, they were able to extinguish the flames each time, but try as they might, they were never able to figure out what the source was. Believing there was something wrong with the house, possibly the wiring, Methuselah decided to sell his house and range more, and the family received $20,000 for the property. He purchased a new house in Pomula North, and the money from the sale of his first house was to be used to complete construction on the new property and to purchase some furniture. He placed the money in a plastic bag, and at one point considered placing the bag in a bucket of water in case another fire broke out, but he never got the chance. His mechanic arrived at the house, and for the time being, Methuselah placed the money, which was inside the plastic bag, in his wardrobe while he spoke to the man. But moments later, his wife started yelling that smoke was billowing out of the wardrobe, and Methuselah ran over to investigate. To his surprise, the money inside the bag had caught fire and was reduced to ash. Strangely, none of his clothes were damaged, and the wooden wardrobe where the money was hidden was not burnt at all. It was as if the fire had targeted the money alone, which left the family baffled. Number 5. The police in Geelong, Australia, have released CCTV footage of Adam Johnson, a 38-year-old man who's been missing since April of 2025, in hopes that someone who has seen him will come forward with information that will help bring his case to a close. His family revealed that in the months before Adam went missing, they became concerned for his well-being when he started associating with the wrong types of people in his hometown of Geelong. On the 27th of April, their fears became a reality when Adam had to be taken to Geelong University Hospital after he'd become embroiled in an altercation with sellers of illegal substances, and he was injured. Thanks to CCTV images from the hospital, it's known that he left the building at some point that same day, after which he's not been heard from again. Understandably, his family is concerned for his well-being, and they believe he may have come to harm, and investigators are still doing all they can to locate him. Adam's family believes that he owed these men money and that he was unable to pay them in time, and hence they confronted him about the issue, leading to the altercation in question and his disappearance. His sister Misty has added that Adam and one of the men had been arguing for some time, and that it would likely have only been a matter of time before the situation came to a head, as it did that day. After he was reported missing and the investigation into his disappearance started, Adam's family received an anonymous tip in which the tipster claimed that he had indeed been harmed over debt, and that the police needed to search a shed, but that information led nowhere. CCTV footage also showed Adam walking around Geelong City Center for a while, after which he was never seen again. It's been suggested that someone picked him up from this area, and his family speculates that he was intercepted by the same men who injured him the previous day. But the police remain firm on their stance that no evidence of foul play has been found, and that Adam might still be in the Geelong area. They've asked for the public's assistance in tracking him down by checking their security cameras in case Adam was seen somewhere. On the 4th of May, someone contacted the police to report that they had spotted him near Port Arlington Beach, and that area was then also searched, but he could still not be located, and it remains unknown whether that man was even Adam. Anyone who has further information that could help track Adam down is asked to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-333-000. Number 4. For 5 days, the police in Australia did their utmost to locate 62-year-old Stephen Bailey, who's not been seen or heard from since the 2nd of March 2025. But his location remains unknown, and investigators are desperate for answers in his case. Some of the details in his case have left not only investigators but friends and family baffled, since Stephen is known to have gone missing in a conservation park, and no one has any idea why he would have decided to travel there, especially on his own. But they have added that he's a very fit and strong individual, which gives them hope that he will be able to take care of himself while out in the wilderness until he's found. But his absence has left them in a state of limbo. Stephen was last seen by his coworkers in Adelaide Hills on the day of his disappearance, and they've since reported that he seemed his usual self and that nothing about his demeanor caused them any concern. But when he failed to arrive home and didn't report for his shift the next day, he was reported missing, and the initial search effort was started. 2 days into the search, his gold Hyundai Elantra was found abandoned on the west boundary track of Garcart Conservation Park. The vehicle had become stuck in soft sand, and he was likely forced to abandon it and look for help on foot. What's causing his family a lot of concern is the fact that the park is situated about 3 hours from his workplace, and he wouldn't have had any reason to be there. Adding even more mystery to the case is the fact that a few of his footprints were found a few miles east of the area where his car was found, but they could not be tracked so far before the trail was lost. This led to speculation that Stephen decided to look for aid on foot and that he may have gotten lost. The area was also searched, but the footprints were the last clue that was found. Once the vehicle was found, a search effort at the park was organized, and search crews started scouring through the area. They made use of thermal imaging devices to look for heat signatures from the air, while drones looked for any sign of Stephen's clothing or any other clues. The area was also searched on foot for 5 days, and when no further clues as to his whereabouts were found, it was called off. But the police have since stated that additional searches will likely be carried out in the future. They added that while the search was conducted as thoroughly as possible, they encountered several areas that were covered in dense brush and hence were difficult to search through. Furthermore, if new information is received suggesting that Stephen might still be in the area, a new search will be started, according to the South Australian Police. Anyone with information on his whereabouts is asked to contact the Police Assistance Line at 131-444, quoting case number 59133. Number 3. The family of 20-year-old Emilio Acosta, who hails from Weehawken in New Jersey, has told the media that they've been left baffled by his sudden disappearance, which occurred in December of 2025, because of the strange behavior that he exhibited before going missing. Emilio's missing person case started on the 18th of December while he was home with his family. At around 1:30 that morning, his parents say that they were woken up by strange sounds in their bedroom. They then realized that the sounds were coming from their closet, and upon closer inspection, found that Emilio was rummaging through it for reasons unknown. Before they could ask him what he was doing, he grabbed 2 backpacks out of the closet and ran out of the room. He then left the house moments later and was seen running away on foot, but his family has no idea where he was heading or what his plans were. His father became concerned that Emilio was in trouble, so he got in his car and drove around their neighborhood in search of him, but with no luck. When he didn't return to the house that day, the police were informed that he'd gone missing, and a missing person case was filed. Investigators managed to acquire CCTV footage of Emilio walking near an elementary school in Weehawken. After news of his disappearance was made public, witnesses came forward to report that they'd seen him at a Shell gas station in Secaucus. Another witness stated that they'd spotted him walking in the direction of MetLife Stadium, and both of these areas were searched, but with no positive result. The next step was to check Emilio's cell phone activity, and it was found to have last pinged off a tower close to the stadium, after which it's assumed that it was either turned off or that it ran out of battery. Since then, the police have received several leads as multiple people believe they saw him, but none of these tips have led to his whereabouts. His family, in the meantime, has released more information about him. They stated that he's been living with bipolar disorder for some time, but added that he had been receiving proper care before he went missing. It should also be noted that he had been struggling with a mental health episode in the days before the incident, but it remains unknown whether that was a factor in his disappearance. If you spot Emilio or have any information that could lead to his current whereabouts, you're asked to contact the Weehawken Police Department at 201-863-7800. A $5,000 reward is being offered for such information, and callers can remain anonymous if they choose to do so. Number 2. The mother of 19-year-old Connor Oldfield, who's a resident of Plainfield, New Jersey, is concerned that he may have been detained after he was mistaken for an illegal immigrant, but she's still in search of answers to explain his disappearance. She's told the authorities that she's extremely concerned for his well-being, since Connor is autistic and may have a tough time on his own while he's away from the familiarity of his family home. It's known that Connor was alone at his house on the 24th of January, 2026, and that at some point during the day, he walked away from the property. But his family doesn't know why he left, or whether he was planning on walking to a specific location. They added that it's not out of the ordinary for him to be home by himself, since he's known to be somewhat of a homebody, and he's never wandered away from the property in the past. His mother, Stephanie, returned to the house at around 3:30 that afternoon and was taken aback when she realized that Connor wasn't there. She contacted the police to report him as missing, and the family immediately started searching for him, but he could not be located. The public has been informed that Connor is able to communicate verbally, but that if he's spotted, he should be approached calmly, since he might be nervous and anxious. Anyone who sees him should communicate with him clearly, using a reassuring tone. Causing further concern is the fact that he left the house that day, while dressed only in his pajama bottoms and a gray coat. The next day, the area was hit by a snowstorm that was severe enough for public transport systems to be shut down. And since Connor wasn't dressed for such conditions, it's feared that he might be battling against the elements. CCTV footage shows Connor running through the area that day, and he was captured on several surveillance systems in the area. But investigators have been unable to figure out where he was running to. But Stephanie has further concerns. She stated that shortly after he went missing, the area was inundated by ICE agents who arrested several people on suspicion of living in the country illegally. She fears that since Connor left the house without any form of identification, he might have been mistakenly arrested as an illegal immigrant. She expressed these concerns to the local authorities, who then contacted federal officials, but it was reported that no documentation of Connor being detained has been found. Stephanie told a media outlet that since so many people were arrested that day, his details may not have been added to ICE's databases yet, and she suggested that he might still be in their custody. And her fears are by no means unfounded. In November of 2025, ICE agents mistakenly arrested a 16-year-old male in Rhode Island when he was suspected of being an illegal immigrant, and it would later come to light he was just mistaken for someone else. Anyone with information that could help locate Connor is urged to contact the Plainfield Police Department at 908-356-2969. Number 1. Shelby Erickson, the sister of Deanna Erickson, has told the media that she and her family are doing everything they can to locate Deanna, but added that her disappearance has caused her to become overwhelmed. The 32-year-old, who hails from Calgary in Alberta, Canada, has not been seen since the 6th of June 2025, despite it being known that she was in Walden shortly before she inexplicably went missing. Deanna and Shelby are in the habit of checking in with each other every day, and when she failed to do so that day, she became concerned. Her fears only grew when Deanna's landlord contacted her to report that she hadn't come home, and that she'd left her beloved pet bird behind, which was very out of character for her. Shelby decided to contact the police to file a missing person report, and it was then determined that Deanna was likely on her way home by bus that night. But after getting off a train at Somerset Station, she was supposed to board a bus to Copperfield, but mistakenly took the bus to Walden, which traveled along Route 167, despite speaking to a bus driver to ask when her bus would be arriving. That bus traveled in the opposite direction from her house, and she's not been seen or heard from since. As soon as the investigation into her case was started, the police attempted to contact anyone who had contact with Deanna between 9 and 11 p.m. that night, and several people were interviewed, but they were unable to supply investigators with any useful information. Hence, they asked that anyone who saw her that night, and who's not been interviewed yet, come forward, as they might unknowingly have information that could lead to her being located. Shelby further revealed that a ground search has been conducted in the area where Deanna was last seen, but no clues as to which direction she traveled in have been found. She's also since spoken to fishing companies that operate in the Bow River to ask if they keep an eye out for her sister. There's no doubt about the route that Deanna took that night, since transit footage was thoroughly checked by investigators and she could be seen getting off the bus in Walden, but her movements following that remain unclear. Shelby has speculated that her sister might have been under the influence of illegal substances that night, and hence she may have taken the wrong bus, which she would never do under normal circumstances. The footage shows her holding her head while crying and rocking back and forth at some stage while she was on the bus, and then suddenly getting up and exiting the vehicle before disappearing in an unknown direction. The case took a disturbing turn on the 23rd of December when Shelby received a message from someone claiming to have abducted Deanna and who demanded that she pay a $10,000 ransom for her safe return. The demand was accompanied by a photo of Deanna showing her tied up, but the police quickly determined that the image was created using AI and that the ransom demand was a scam. Anyone with further information on Deanna's case is asked to contact the Calgary Police Service at 403-266-1234. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But my name is Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.